This podcast is brought to you by iFixed. If you are listening to this podcast with a cracked screen, stuck power button, or just want to change the look of your smartphone, you need to go see these guys. They repair your smartphone, tablets, and MP3 players, as well as accessories. If you're looking for an honest, quality electronics repair shop, this is the place for you. Ask for the Junkies discount to receive an automatic $5 off any purchase, no matter how big or how small. Again, that's the Junkies discount at iFixed. That's IPHIXD.
The Junkies podcast does not reflect the views of Utah State Athletics, or its affiliates.
Soccer's undefeated through 4 matches, volleyball returns home from their first tournament, and we have 2 first-place finishers from USU cross country on this week's Junkies. What's up, Aggie Nation? Welcome to the second episode of USU Junkies. I'm Kyle Haywood, here along with
Blake Hadfield.
Good to see you, Blake.
Good to see you too, Kyle.
I'm pretty stoked to have the second episode. I had a lot of fun last time, and we've got a ton more to talk about. Last time was just a lot of preseason. We'd only seen really one game so far out of all the teams, but we got a lot of stuff to cover.
Yes, sir. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah, it's good news. It's not just coming in and just making guesses, but there's some awesome things been happening with a lot of our sports that we definitely can cover today. But I think the first thing we need to mention is that we have a sponsor for the first time for this episode. Just want to give a shout out to iFixed. They actually support us quite a bit here at the show. Those guys are awesome over there. In fact, they're huge Aggie athletics fans, big time. In fact, if you want to support us, you'll definitely support our sponsors by going out and checking them out. iFix, they're by the North Walmart on 2nd East and 1400 North. I talked to the guy today. He said that if you come in and mention USU Junkies, that he will give you $5 off anything, whether you need a new case for your phone, whether you need a screen protector, or you need a repair done. If you're listening to this podcast and you've got a broken home button or a cracked screen or something, definitely go check him out. Really cool guys over there, big Aggie fans, so just wanted to shout out to them as we get this episode rolling.
I've actually been out there twice, and it was definitely a great experience both times. Go check them out.
All right, sounds good. Well, yeah, so thanks to iFixed. Go check them out, guys. But let's get started. We've got soccer. Has been killing it lately.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, they started out the season just 3-0, boom, 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 shutouts all the way. And I mean, these girls just came off the season just hot. Then they surprised a lot of people because they went down 2-0 just a couple days ago against Nebraska. Went down 2-0 to start off the half, but then came back from down 2-0, scored 2 goals in the second half, and it sounds like they held off a ton of attack from Nebraska. What was that like? I didn't actually get a chance to get over to that game on Labor Day, but I know you were over there.
Yeah, it was a blast. My phone couldn't even keep up with the excitement, much to my dismay, but it was an absolute blast. Incredible atmosphere, everyone on the edge of their seats. Those two, the end of regulation and then the 2 overtimes were absolutely insane. Incredible atmosphere. It was super intense. It was one of those where you're just constantly, ooh, oh, 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 oh. It was fun.
That's awesome. That's sweet. I mean, not gonna lie, I wasn't able to make it, but I had my phone with me, and I was refreshing on my Twitter feed like crazy. Just could not wait. I mean, I couldn't get enough tweets about the soccer game, and it seemed like every one of those tweets was just, another huge defensive stop by Utah State. Mm-hmm. Sound like Nebraska really came in hungry for that win. Just they didn't want to come in here and tie. They wanted to come in and win, and from what I could tell, I mean, the Aggie defense just stepped up time after time.
They did. They definitely did. They stood tall. We'll just bring her up right now. Jeannie Waller has been absolutely incredible as the keeper. She for her efforts, has been awarded her second straight Mountain West Conference Defensive Player of the Week, as well as Utah State Athlete of the Week. First one of
the year.
This year, right?
She has.
She's just been she's been a stonewaller for sure.
Definitely the great stonewaller of China, of Utah State. But you know what? Like, she is impressive. When you watch her play, she is very vocal. She's definitely a leader out there on the team. And even though she's a sophomore, you can tell she gets a lot of respect. Yeah. And I think that's something to be said about the soccer team as a whole, is that they come out and they're a team. It doesn't matter if you are a senior and you've been with the team for 5 years, or if you are a freshman straight out of high school. If you come in and if you're contributing and you're vocal, they listen. They're a total team effort out there. And I think that people notice that kind of stuff, and it makes you proud to be an Aggie, to say, you know what, like, yeah, she's just a freshman that just came on, but she's out there directing things, and she's noticing things in the game that maybe the senior was missing, and vice versa, you know, the seniors with their experience. And I think Jeannie Waller back there, as a sophomore, her communication with her defenders up front is definitely the reason they're undefeated right now. I mean, yeah, our offense has been great, and we've been getting goals scored, but the defense has really been where these games have been won.
Definitely. It's fun if you have to go to the games. If you're not going to the soccer games, just make sure that you go. So let's see, their next one at home is going to be on the 13th of September. Arkansas is coming to town. Go to a game. Do yourself a favor. If you think soccer's not really my thing, go to a Utah State soccer game and support them. And if you sit close enough, you can hear a lot of the chatter. Soccer's a little more, you can get closer to the action.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
You can hear what's going on. You can see the facial expressions and everything. And they're communicating constantly. One thing that I noticed in the Nebraska game that I really, really liked, things did not go well in the first half. It seems like every pass attempt, it was Nebraska going the other way immediately. It felt like there were 3 or 4 more Nebraska players on the field than Utah State players at times. Things were just not going well, but they weren't looking to each other saying, what were you doing? What were you thinking? Oh, I can't believe you did that. They were looking at each other and really building each other up. And, hey, we need to be in these spots. We need to do this. Hey, let's go, Aggies. Really pulled together very, very well. It was awesome to see.
That's awesome. With the performance that she's put out, I mean, they started off the season with a shutout. They started off their second game with a shutout against UVU. Then they went out to UTEP and got another shutout. And then they came, and even though Nebraska, like you said, came out and scored those two goals, they stepped up in the second half and shut them down again in the second half. So, I mean, just seeing this team develop as they have, and, you know, it seemed, you know, as we were getting closer, you know, kind of starting to progress through the season, you start to see how the team starts to evolve. And, you know, at first I was like, well, what's going to happen if they go down? Because they hadn't been down. They hadn't been behind in a game yet. And you just kind of think, well, you know, are they going to have the kind of fight to come back? But that was tested against Nebraska. And I think that says a lot about the kind of grit and determination that this Aggie soccer team has. Just wanted to point out that Waller did, you know, she won her first USU Athlete of the Week. But let's talk about, there were several other athletes. There was 4 other athletes that were nominated for Athlete of the Week from Utah State. Now let's just roll through those really quick. I'm just going to mention them. First of all, with our cross country, actually had 2 nominations. First of all, from the men's team, Kyle McKenna, the senior, he actually won the race at the Aggie Invitational here in Logan, and the team won first place. So, I mean, winning the race, that's about all you can ask for from a cross-country athlete.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just Kyle McKenna that did that. But for the women's team, we had a freshman, Tori Parkinson from Wellsville, went out and she won her first ever collegiate race. And, you know, it's her first race ever. I'm sure that she's extremely nervous, but she went out there and actually went and won the thing. And Utah State also, the women's team also won the meet. Then I don't know if you've heard of this guy, but our football team, they've got a quarterback named Chucky Keaton. Have you heard of him?
How was that pronounced?
I think
again?
he's new. Chucky Keaton went out and he had a career high in completions and attempts. But here's the thing. He went 31 for 40. That is ridiculous.
And some of those he wisely threw the ball away.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
There was 4 or 5 of those that he threw away.
Yeah.
But, I mean, so Chucky Keaton went out and he was nominated as well. And then volleyball, which we're going to get to a little bit later as well, outside hitter Rachel Orr actually she was named to the all-tournament team when they went down to Utah. The team went 2-1 down there, and she was named to the all-tournament team. She posted double doubles in all 3 matches with 15 kills and 16 digs against Utah. That is a solid game. I know they lost 3-2, 3 sets to 2, but 15 kills and 16 digs in one game. That's a fantastic outing. So it's not that Jeannie Waller won this without any competition. She had a lot of competition against some outstanding performances.
Definitely.
I mean, 2 cross-country people win races. Chucky Keaton goes 31 for 40 and then 15 kills and 16 digs. That says a lot about these Utah State sports that are going along.
Yeah, lots of tremendous athletes doing very good things to start this athletic season or year.
Yeah, definitely.
So just rewinding a little bit, just to really quick recap the UVU soccer game. It was a 1-0 win for Utah State. I think they were maybe hoping for some more goals out there in that one, but a win is a win is a win is a win, right?
Exactly.
But they Utah State controlled the ball that whole match. And then finally at one point, Lauren Roundy was fouled in the box, and Taryn Rose came in, defender actually, for the penalty kick, and just made it look like she knew it was going in the whole time. And
the UVU goalkeeper looked like she had never defended a goal before.
Yeah,
it was a fantastic finish by Taryn.
Yeah,
and that game, it was just one of those games, that UVU game. As we sat and watched that was one of those games where you can just see that things weren't necessarily clicking on all cylinders for Utah State. For some reason, it just, especially, I guess the first half is the one that sticks out in my mind. Is just, it wasn't flowing super well, but it wasn't that they weren't getting opportunities or they were getting a ton of scares, but when your team just isn't flowing and you go a half without a real serious goal threat, you start to wonder, and you think, okay, like this could be an upset right here with UVU. But they came out, and the second half looked so crisp. They were keeping the ball, and they were keeping in possession of the ball. It seemed like UVU could not get it away from them. And so whatever Coach Karen said at halftime to help fix that was just spot on. Whatever you said, Coach Cairns, 2 thumbs up from the guys at USU Junkies. We endorse you fantastically for that halftime adjustment, because you could tell the difference with the team.
You really could. And we'll get to it again with. We'll have to talk about Nebraska again some more. But Jeannie Waller in that one, very mediocre for her 3 saves.
Yeah,
not mediocre. There just weren't as many shots on her.
Not as many shots on her.
Yeah. Then they traveled to UTEP. So this is the first one that neither Kyle nor I were there to actually witness. But Janie Robison had what I am told was a nice through ball to Kylie Dibb, who scored the lone goal in that one. So again, it was Utah State 1-0, pitching the shutout. Very interesting stat on this one is that UTEP led on shots 13-5.
Wow.
So UTEP definitely appeared to be the aggressor in that one. Waller came up with 6 saves in that one. So it's just it's another example of what a good keeper can do for you in soccer. And Utah State has a great keeper. Waller has been just stellar out there to come away with a win when the other team was constantly attacking that way. And you still pitch a shutout is
yeah.
just awesome. She definitely earns all the hype and accolades that she's getting. Moving on to the Nebraska game, like Kyle mentioned, Utah State trailed 2-0 at half, and watching that game, that first half was just the thought was, oh boy, we're having a hard time adjusting to the increase in talent level here. It looked like we couldn't pass a ball to anyone for the life of us, and it just looked like, well, you know what? Yeah, they're just the better team, and this could really be
Turn
trouble.
into a blowout,
and then the Nebraska scored that first goal, and it was like shocking though. Even though it kind of felt like Nebraska was in trouble, it was shocking that they scored a goal because we hadn't
let that happen yet.
Seen that yet, and it was like I don't really know what the feeling on the field was, but like in the stands, we were all kind of like, so that ball went in, and like this really happened, and it was just a strange feeling for a moment there, and I do think that the team was maybe a little bit thrown off by it as well, because that second goal came almost immediately after, and you thought, oh man, I really hope the floodgates didn't just open. But I credit the Aggies' incredible comeback. They came out in the second half a completely different team. Suddenly they controlled the possession big time, and again, Coach Cairns did a tremendous job rallying her team, really building them back up, saying, hey, don't I didn't hear this conversation, by the way. I'm assuming she said, hey, let's not think that they can do whatever they want against it. We're a good soccer team. Let's stand up and go play ball and see what we can accomplish. And they really controlled the tone. And so that first goal was Lauren Roundy again, and that was an impressive one. She had a defender she dribbled through a couple, and then a defender was just really leaning on her, trying to contest her, and she was still able to slip it right past the goal. It was really impressive shot, and the crowd was excited. So we thought, oh my goodness, this might be okay. This might happen. Really swayed a lot of the momentum had been swayed before then, but it really kind of, for the crowd, turned us into believers there. The second goal was a fun one, because it was Sarah Leuscheider, kind of sort of a lob pass inside while the Aggies were putting a lot of pressure. The goalie kind of maybe misjudged the ball, or made a split decision to kind of come out after it, and it kind of sailed over her head, and Lexi Morgan was right there to power it in for the equalizer, and that was an awesome goal to see. Good team effort to get the ball down there and create the scoring opportunity, and really got the crowd excited about it.
Well, the thing that I guess we've been sitting and talking up the defense this entire time, but the thing that you need to remember is that, yeah, the defense has been solid and they've resisted attack after attack after attack, but one thing we need to remember in these wins and in that tie against Nebraska, against UTEP and against Nebraska, we've been outshot. Those UTEP and Nebraska both got way more shots on goal than we did. In fact, against Nebraska, they had 26 shots with 14 of those on goal.
Yeah.
14. That's 12 that were on target that were deflected by the Aggies. So, yeah, that's the case with our defense. But so they scored two goals with 14 shots. We scored 2 goals with 7 shots. Yeah. Half the shots, but still we're able to put those away. And the same thing with the UTEP game. So maybe our strikers and our pressing midfield aren't getting as many looks at goal, but when they are getting looks on goal, they're making it count. And I think that is important. Of course, we'd like to see a lot more, a little bit of a bounce back from the team from these last 2 games and creating more opportunities. But when they do get opportunities, they're putting them away. So I would be scared to death if I was another team from the Mountain West looking at the Utah State team and saying, these guys are scoring and they're not getting a lot of shots. If
Yeah.
they start to figure this out and they just bring that last piece into their game and they start just being able to keep ball possession and put more and more shots towards the opponent's goal, this could be a fantastic soccer team. This could
Definitely
be one of the better Aggie soccer teams that we've had. And fans, listen up. If you haven't had a chance to go see the soccer team, you need to. It is a fun environment. Lots of people are there. Big Blue comes out and interacts with the team. And it's not just Big Blue, but Big Blue comes in and interacts with the fans. But the team, before the game, comes over and talks to you. After the game, they come around and high-five everybody around the field. It's a fun environment. I love going and watching these games. So seeing the team do so well is exciting to me. To start off 3-0 with one tie, watch out. This team could do some serious damage when it comes to the conference.
Definitely. I agree. The atmosphere is awesome. Come, because I can promise you'll enjoy your whole time there. I just have to mention we've talked about the defense and how good it is and how the attackers are making good on their opportunities. Two defensive names that I think we need to bring up. One, Brooke Larson-Levitt has been awesome as a defender back there. Nebraska, while they were pressing in those 2 overtimes, she would get back there and she would just take the ball from people. You would think, oh man, there's going to be a pretty good one-on-one opportunity here, and then all of a sudden you go, oh wait, Brooke just took the ball and cleared it. Oh, okay, that's cool. And Jessica Hoskin-Kilpack as well. There was one play in particular where she was just one of those bear down, gritty defense. Really swallowed up the ball. Just total effort and came up with a nice defensive play there too. So the whole team's just been awesome to watch. They're a great group to support for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that because Coach Cairns, there's a quote from her after the Nebraska game. She says, we were down 2. It says to go down 2-0 at half. That definitely wasn't our best half of soccer. Nebraska is a great team, but you know what? So are we. And I think that just sums up this soccer team. Is they're tough, they're athletic, they play as a team. And they're not going to roll over for anybody.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
definitely need to come out and support these Aggie soccer players. They're doing fantastic.
One more thing real fast. Kyle mentioned it. I'm not sure if you guys caught it. 14 shots on goal, and they scored 2. That means Waller had 12 saves in that game. Think about that.
Wrap your mind around that for a second.
One of them she paid for too. There was a point
take one to the
blank,
face or
absolute rifle of a shot, but she was in the right place. Didn't get her hands on the ball. I think she had just barely gotten back up after a previous save or something. But holy cow, she stood in there and just, that's not coming in my net no matter what it does to me.
We need the toughness of Jeannie Waller with every Aggie athlete. That's awesome, dude. That's so sweet. Well, soccer's not the only sport that's happening around Utah State. There's been some great success with a lot of the teams. And in fact, if you haven't had a chance right now to go and listen to the Front Row Show guys go and talk with Coach DuBose with the volleyball team, that is an interview you need to listen to. I know they've had Matt Wells, and I know they've had Scott Barnes, but you need to go listen to Coach DuBose. His interview is fantastic. He's one of the most entertaining, fun to talk to, interactive guys that you're going to meet. And just that interview alone just could sell you on being a Utah State volleyball fan. If you are a fan that doesn't know any of the players, doesn't know a whole lot about volleyball, listen to that interview and then come to a volleyball game and you will catch the fever. I guarantee you that. So if you haven't listened to that yet, go listen to it right now. As soon as this podcast is over, pop right back, grab that interview and listen to him. Fantastic coach and a fantastic team. They went down to the University of Utah, and they started off with a tough loss against Utah at Utah's home court. They lost 3-2, and that's just, I mean, it was close. I was following the Twitter updates again. I wasn't able to make it to that tournament down there, but you know, it was a very close game. Sounded like an emotional game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they didn't come away with the win, but they bounced back. And the next 2 games, they took care of business. They beat Northern Iowa the next day 3-1. And I believe that the Northern Iowa one was actually the 600th win for Utah State volleyball as a program. So great milestone there.
And I know Coach DeBose mentioned about Northern Iowa. He said that traditionally they've been a really, really strong program. And they won that one in 4 sets. So they really bounced back very well. Took care of business in that one.
And then Fairfield, they came back in that same day. They played 2 games. It was a doubleheader on the 31st. They came back and they played Fairfield that evening, and they won that one as well. Put them away. It took them 5 sets, but they did it. And so this team, this Aggie volleyball team, has done a fantastic job. When they're starting out the season 2-1, it's the second year in a row that they've started off with that record. But when the Aggies come back and they win those two right in a row, and now they're heading off to, I believe it's Portland. Let me double check on that. Yes, they're up in Portland for the Nike Invitational. They're playing Wichita State, Pacific, and Portland. So again, on the 7th, this Saturday, they've got a doubleheader as well, one at 11 a.m. and one at 8 p.m. So these games, these tournaments, and I think we mentioned this before, Blake. These tournaments that Coach DeBose has them going out to, they don't have a home game until September 18th. So it's almost an entire month before they get a home game. But when they go out and go to these tournaments, we talked about this, that they bond as a team. They're staying in a hotel together. They go out and they have fun. Tournaments, when you go and spend a weekend with your teammates and your coaches, that's where you really come together as a team, and you really start to trust each other. You become friends, and you're not just teammates, you're actually friends, and you grow in closeness. So while, it's hard because we can't go see a lot of their games, unfortunately. But but I guarantee you, when Boise State comes to town on the 18th, Blake and I are going to be sitting right there, ready to watch. But when they go on these tournaments, I'm just excited to see how they come together as a team. They actually have Wichita State, which I'm not sure when this podcast is going to get released. It might not get released till the next Monday when this tournament's over. But they play Wichita State, they play Pacific, and then they play Portland as well. So, I mean, those are 3 teams that aren't going to lay over for the volleyball team either. They're definitely going to have some good competition. And then they return back from that tournament. And then on the 10th, they go to Weber State. So if you are an Aggie volleyball fan and you haven't been able to make it to Salt Lake or Portland, Ogden's just right outside the canyon. Pop down and see him at Weber State.
Yeah, there were some things that I think are noteworthy to bring up on the Utah tournament. The second set against Utah, the Aggies actually started out trailing that set 11-1, and they rallied back. That was actually a set that they won. It was one of the 2. They rallied back and won that 25-21. That's encouraging to me to know that the team can pull together and eat up a 10-point deficit is very impressive to me. Another thing that happened in that game is that Junior Page, I went with Neves last time. I'm just going to stick with Neves until someone tells me that it's wrong.
Please tweet us. If we're getting this wrong, shoot us a tweet or an email. I'm not going to give out my cell phone number over this, but let us know. We really don't want to sound like idiots on here. Let us know.
Yeah,
So
not anymore.
that's why
than
when
we
it comes
have
to a name,
anyway.
I'm letting Blake do all the intros so he can get all the crap.
No,
for it.
yeah, and this is a name that I really need to figure out how to pronounce, because she had 42 assists against Utah, and that actually made her the 8th Aggie to reach 2,000 career assists.
Wow.
She's a junior, so she'll climb up that list. In fact, she already climbed up from 8th in was it the next game, or was it 2 games later? Anyway, she's number 7 all time for Utah State right now.
Looks like it was the next game against Northern Iowa. She went from 8th to 7th. Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that we definitely need to bring up is, and this last name's going to be it's going to be a struggle for me too. But in fact, the first name is too. But senior Tumua Etimani, she went 3 straight matches of career highs in kills.
Wow.
I've never been a volleyball player. I've always been like a track guy, but to have in track, you call them like a PR, personal record, or a personal best.
Yeah.
You don't have those 3 times in a row. You just don't. And so I huge shout out to her. It's actually really cool. Let me find it here. Her career total. Okay, so she had 17 career kills to her name.
Okay.
Total career. She comes out in her first 2 matches, combines for 24 kills.
Nice.
And then match after that, she goes ahead and just gets her 3rd straight career high with 15 kills in that one. So awesome progression from her as a senior. Super excited for her in that respect.
And you love to see seniors coming up and stepping up. You know, you hate to see any player that comes through and just never really develops. And, you know, they go all the way through their senior year. You don't see that. So I am stoked that she's doing that as a senior. She's coming out and she's taking a role on the team and saying, you know, this is my senior season. I'm going to make this count.
Yeah.
This is my last chance to play for Utah State. I'm going to go out with a bang. So huge, big shout out to her. That's fantastic. Round of applause all the way. You know, that Utah loss, you know, I was up at the football game on Thursday. I guess down. We're going to say down. We're at the higher level here in Logan. So we went down to Salt Lake. And I was at the football game, and it was rough. I mean, you know, everybody's a little bit sad, but then as I was sitting there, the volleyball team started walking down, and I kind of sat there in the stands a little while after the game, and they were one of the last ones to leave. They were up there quite a bit for quite a while after the game, and then they came down as a team, and you know, and they were getting ready because their game was the very next night against Utah, and I said, hey, go get some revenge for us, and they were pumped. They said, yeah, we're gonna do it. And so, you know, that's just another heartbreaking loss against a team that you have a history of playing against. But so yeah, they lost, but then they played Northern Iowa, which you already mentioned. Northern Iowa's been a solid program, and that traditionally they're a good volleyball team. But they came out and they beat them 3-1. Now listen to this. So they beat them 25-18, and then they lost 9-25.
Yeah.
So I mean, that right there is disheartening. But this volleyball team said, you know what, that's a fluke, and they came back, beat them 25-19, 25-23 to grab the win there. So I mean, just, you know, volleyball can be one of those sports that is very roller coastery. I don't know if that's a great adjective to use, roller coastery.
I thought it was fantastic.
If that hasn't been used before, I'm trademarking it. Roller coastery, coming straight to you from Kyle Haywood. But so I mean, it's up and down all the time.
I think I ate some roller toastery chicken one time.
Some roller coaster. Roller toaster. All right. Oh man, sorry. That was fantastic. That was fantastic, Blake. But but yeah, I mean, it can be definitely an up and down type of sport where the other team can just go on a crazy run. But these girls came out and they did that. And like you said, we've already mentioned some of the players that have done that performed really well. And then they go back again just later on that day, and then so they take on Fairfield and they win 3-2. But here's the scores of those ones: they won 25-22, and then they lost 17-25, and then they bounced back 25-20, and they lost again 22-25. So I mean, it's just back and forth like crazy, and so
tons of lead changes, tons of ties, and then sets alternated.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I had a lot of Twitter updates coming from that game as well. And then, for those of you who aren't super savvy when it comes to volleyball, so they play each set to 25, but then the last set, if it goes to a fifth set, that only goes to 15. So it's almost, and I know 15 points sounds like a lot, but it's almost like basketball. Points get scored constantly. So it's a quick 15 points. You can't spot them. You can't spot them a few points and then expect to come back. You have to go out. It's almost like a golden goal type deal in overtime when it comes to soccer, where it's sudden. As soon as a goal scored, it's over, because that's how quick it is. But they won that 15-7 and pulled away from Fairfield to end up leaving the tournament with a winning record. And I think that when you can do that, when you come out with a winning record, you feel much better about yourself as a team, especially when you start out with a loss. But there's a quote here that I wanted to use from Coach DeBose. We used a quote from Coach Cairns. We wanted to use a quote from Coach DeBose. He says, "We always say that our team is a family, and I really thought we showed that today." He's saying this after the Fairfield game. "We made some substitutions, and some were upgrades, and all the kids were helping each other out, directing each other, and pulling for each other. That's kind of a nice sign of what is becoming a really good team." Now, I see a trend here, Blake. We're talking about the soccer team, and now this same thing comes up with the volleyball team. They're a team in every sense of the word. Every sense of the word. And the fact that they're so close, and even the term family comes out. That just shows a lot what Aggie Athletics is all about. That whole hashtag arms around deal that we're promoting. That's what it's about. That Aggie Nation and the Aggie family is exactly that. They're a family. We put our arms around each other. We lift each other up, whether we're down, whether we just lost the game and we're coming back, or we just got smoked in a set 25-9 and come back from that. The fact that they're coming together as a team and really fighting alongside each other, that's what you love to see. And you may not win every game, but you're gonna make but you may win every game. Who knows? But they're just the development from a quote like that from Coach DeBose just makes you feel better about the upcoming season. Makes you feel positive that this is a team that also is going to go and make some serious noise when it comes to conference play.
For sure. And so. Yeah, I don't know when this episode will hit, but the Portland tournament should be an exciting one. Kyle mentioned that one of the opponents there is Wichita State. They were actually ranked 24th initially. They have dropped down into the other teams receiving votes, but definitely some good competition there. It'll be fun to follow. I will not be making the trip out there, unfortunately.
I wish I was going up to Portland. That would be fantastic. I'd love to go to the Pacific.
But it should be fun to follow, and we'll have some good info on that.
And check
later,
us out. We'll be tweeting some updates as well. We follow the game tracker, and we follow how these teams are doing, even when they're out of Logan. But on these away games, check out our Twitter. Make sure that you're staying up to date on how the team's doing. So kind of moving on from volleyball, unless you have anything else you want to say, Blake.
Nope. Other than just keep September 18th in mind for when Boise State comes to town.
Yep, circle that game because there's a decent little crowd at the home games doing some heckling, and you don't have to. You're not going to be sitting a ton of rows back up behind, but you can get right down on the action, right on the court, and give the other team a hard time. Let them know that the Spectrum isn't just a basketball arena, but that the volleyball team also gets support as well. Kind of going, we've already mentioned them earlier in the program, but the men's and women's cross-country teams held the Aggie Invitational, and they won it. Both teams went out and dominated on their home course. As we mentioned, senior Kyle McKenna, he finished up. His time was 20 minutes, 52 seconds. And then freshman Tori Parkinson, she won her race at 19 minutes, 33 seconds. Now, the men run a 4-mile course. So I'm just going to pop up my calculator really quick. 20 minutes and 52 seconds is roughly, over the course of 4 miles, he's putting out roughly a 5-minute 20-second, 5-minute 15-second mile for 4 miles.
Back to back to back.
I mean, that is... I don't know how many of you have broke the 5.5-minute mark or even the 6-minute mark on a mile run. But he was doing it in 5 minutes, 15 seconds for 4 miles straight. That is a fantastic, that's a fantastic feat. And Tori Parkinson, they did a 5K. They did a 5K race, and she came in at 19 minutes, 33 seconds. That is also very quick. She was cooking it as well and doing it over a 5K. So, I mean, these guys are athletes. They go out, and we mentioned it last time, their bodies are perfectly fine-tuned. They need to know every last bit of how their body's going to react in these races. So the course was actually held out by the Innovation Campus. From what I understand, they usually hold their home meet out at the
American West Heritage Centers, where it had been in the past.
Yeah. And then, but I guess the mud run kind of came in and snuck it out from under their nose maybe and took it for that weekend, because I think the mud run was that same weekend. So, if you went and did the mud run, great for you. That's awesome. But the Aggies had to run at a totally new course. So the fact that they won at home is great because, you get a home field advantage when you're running your course. You know kind of what split you need to be at what marks. You know when you need to kick. You know exactly what terrain to expect. You kind of understand what's going on. But they did it at a totally new course at the Innovation Campus. So that's fantastic. There were also several other people who finished well for the Aggies. In the top 10 for the men, we also had a 5th place finisher. Cade Jensen and Colby Wilson came in at 21 minutes 19 seconds and 21 minutes 24 seconds. So it looks like the future of Aggie cross country is also strong. We had a sophomore and a freshman finish right near the top.
I know Coach Gensel mentioned that they're a pretty young team, and so it was a good meet to evaluate where everything is at, where everyone is at with everything with this young team. So.
Well, yeah, and they only had one other school that came
on the men's side.
On the men's side, they played against they ran against UVU.
They played a heck of a game.
They played
really
great, but yeah, they ran against UVU, and so. Getting a home course, one other team, getting a result, getting some confidence in the team, that's great for a young team. For the women's team, they had USU and Utah Valley, UVU. And then they also had kind of a secondary team from UVU that came and ran, as well as the University of Utah. And thank you, cross-country team, for taking it to the University of Utah. They took 4th out of 4 for their women's cross-country team. So go Aggies. We got one on the Utes this year. So I love to see that.
We'll get more.
We'll get more of them. But, for this season anyway, good to see the women's cross country team snagging that win over them.
Yeah.
So yeah, huge performance by the Aggies, the Aggie cross country team. They've got some big meets coming up. Looks like they're heading out to Utah Valley on this Saturday. Actually, I guess maybe last Saturday if this podcast comes out on Monday. But they go to UVU and then out to Montana on the 21st. So they've got some other races that they're going to get out and get started before they really start seeing some more of the Mountain West competition, which doesn't actually, there's going to be probably some teams they don't see from the Mountain West until they get to that actual thinking high school conference meet in November on the November 2nd. So that's kind of an interesting sport that way. You can go all season without actually running against a team in your conference, and then all of a sudden, boom, here it is, the championship.
I remember I used to get asked that a lot with track. Is that that people would say, well, so how Boise State was the team while I was not yet a has-been. That was a lot of.
That's a really politically correct way to put that.
That was
Blake.
a lot of be verbs conjugated.
I was not a has-been yet.
But Boise State was the one that Utah State would always battle out with in the WAC, and so people would kind of ask. They'd be like, "So how are you guys? Have you guys competed against Boise State yet?" And quite often we had, because they had a really good indoor facility. But yeah, it is different. You don't. It's not that conference schedule where you go and run against, or as Kyle likes to say, play against. You don't.
And that cross country team is playing well. They're killing it right now.
you don't go run against
solid defense.
So we are running against this school this week, and then we play or run.
Now I've got you on it. Yeah.
You don't go compete
That was roller
against
coastery.
each. You don't go compete against each team in the conference one or two times. You go to these meets where there are multiple teams there, and you go and compete. And yeah, quite often you don't see each other until you all come together at that conference meet. The coaches are constantly, and a lot of the athletes, they are constantly looking at what times are the people from this team dropping, what are we going to have to do in that meet to match up against them and everything. So it is that conference championship it's the total spectacle where we call it scoring the meet. We'll be like, yeah, we've scored the meet, where you'll look at everyone's kind of top times and for track distances and
kind of get a feel for
heights
where
and
you're going to
everything,
place.
and be like, okay, so if everyone just does like their season best at this meet, this is how it shake out. So this is kind of what we need to do, and this is what we're looking at. And then people have breakout performances, and you're like, who was that guy? How did he just do that suddenly? It's really, really exciting.
That's awesome.
So that's my plug for November.
The thing that I think is interesting about that is, yeah, just like you said, you could go the whole time, and then all of a sudden somebody just has a fantastic race. Kind of I just wanted to kind of, as we're transitioning out of the cross country team, wanted to kind of give out some Twitter mentions. The volleyball team and the soccer team have a fantastic Twitter, and we've talked about this before. They're very interactive. Coach DeBose runs the volleyball Twitter. I'm not quite sure who runs the soccer Twitter, but whoever they are, awesome. They do a fantastic job. Very, very good with the game updates. They also do a lot of interacting with fans. But I think one of probably the best Twitter post I have seen in a solid couple weeks came this morning. I don't know. I think it was this morning. Might have been yesterday. From the golf team. From the USU golf team. They tweeted out with pretty much almost, I bet you it was probably 80% emoticons. But they tweeted out the Scotsman. Said, show me a Scotsman who doesn't love the Thistle. And they tweeted it out with emoticons. And it was fantastic. It was funny. I loved it. I retweeted it. A lot of people were favoriting it and retweeting it. It's just one of those times that that Twitter turns into an Aggie just you love on the Aggie Fest. You know, it's just bam. We love being at Utah State. We love being fans. And, you know, that was just a fantastic suite. I'm making the golf team the Twitter handle of the month is the USU golf team.
High praise. High praise.
You know what? And we'll actually get, maybe we'll get some trophies or the little Golden Globe or Dundies or whatever you want to call them. But and we can give those out. But definitely a shout out to the golf team. They're fantastic on there. But they're not just been active on Twitter, Blake. They actually went and they held, they didn't hold, but they went to the Battle in the Tetons, excuse me, and went and actually had a few rounds of golf to play. There was 8 teams out there. We had Wyoming, UVU, SUU, Weber State, South Dakota State, Valparaiso, and Westminster all went out there and were competing in the Tetons. And, pretty early round of golf for these guys to go out and play. But they went out. They played a pretty decent round. They came up. They went 4th out of the 8 teams. So solid showing by them. But Tanner Hyam came in, and he actually placed 6th, scoring a perfect. Well, I guess when you say perfect, scoring an even par. He scored 216 over 3 rounds. His final round though came in at 4 under at 68. So I mean, big time clutch play from him in that 3rd round to go in and get some solid points for the Aggies. So big performance there. Good to see them kind of getting things started. We'll definitely keep you updated with how they're doing. Mm-hmm. But good to see the golf team out. They're a fun group of guys. I know a couple of them. They're awesome. Get to know them. And hopefully we'll get 1 or 2 of them on the show here to kind of let you Aggie Junkies, USU Junkies, know how their program's doing. Well, Blake, it's been a fantastic episode.
Has indeed.
Before we sign off, we just want to give another big shout out to iFixed. Remember, if you go in and mention that you heard about him from the USU Junkies and kind of ask for the Junkies discount, he'll give you $5 off whatever, unless whether it's a repair or you need a new case. Your case, you're just sick of it and you want to change, or you want a screen protector, he can do all that. They've got lifetime guarantees on their screen protectors. If it ever scratches, bring it in and replace it. They also do customizations. Make your phone look just killer. They've got, animal print and all these different colors that they can make your phone. Really cool guys. They support us, so you should support them. They help pay our bills so that we can bring you the Front Row Show, the Rock Jocks, Junkies, Agent 3371, and the website. Go check those guys out. See if they can help you out. And
plus, how many other legitimate businesses can you walk into and ask for the Junkies discount at? How often do you get that
so far? This is a 1-for-1. They own the Junkies discount department, in my opinion, so far. So go ask for the Junkies discount.
There might be some people on the streets that may claim some sort of Junkies discount, but it's not going to be the same product, and it might land you in jail.
Exactly. They can't claim that. We haven't endorsed anything other than this. So yeah, definitely go see iFix. They're great guys. Well, Aggie Nation, hopefully you interact with us on Twitter. If you want to hear anything specific from us, tweet at us at USU Junkies. For USU Junkies, I'm Kyle Haywood.
I'm Blake Hadfield.
Go Aggies. This podcast is brought to you by iFixed. If you are listening to this podcast with a cracked screen, stuck power button, or just want to change the look of your smartphone, you need to go see these guys. They repair your smartphone, tablets, and MP3 players, as well as accessories. If you're looking for an honest, quality electronics repair shop, this is the place for you. Ask for the Junkies discount to receive an automatic $5 off any purchase, no matter how big or how small. Again, that's the Junkies discount at iFixed. That's IPH